begin with, let me present the brief study about the EDSA People Power Revolution. September 21, 1972 is when former President Ferdinand E. Marcos signed the Proclamation number 1081 placing the Philippines under the martial law. This was the beginning of a 14-year period of one-man rule that causes economic gloom to the country. During the martial law, controversy is rampant. The street was proliferated by the soldiers. According to the Cable News Network or CNN, Philippines has officially recognized that 11,103 people were tortured and abused during the martial law period. There were also 2,326 killings and disappearances between 1972 and 1986. So after 3 years of being exiled, Benigno Aquino decided to come back to the Philippines to continue his advocacy on attaining the freedom of the people. However, the duty that he would like to do with honor became the reason of his death. August 21, 1983, right after Benigno Aquino arrived at the tarmac of Manila International Airport, he was shot, including his demise, and died brutally. The death of Ninoy is a pleasing sacrifice for the Filipino, and this is the time when the people started to create revolution in their mind. Because of Ninoy's death, the legitimacy of former President E. Marcos turned to be disputed. He had to do something to prove himself in the United States that he remained to be democratically anointed leader of the country. February 7, 1986, former President Ferdinand E. Marcos announced that the Philippines would have the snap election to emphasize the democracy of the country. During this time, Corazon Aquino, a widow of Ninoy, was chosen by the people to stand for her husband's advocacy sa panataining the liberty of the people. Cory ran for presidency against Marcos, and the election was allegedly sabotaged by the government. COMELEC 35 is the cases during the 1986 which made the 35 programmers and technicians walks out during the election because of the obvious cheating inside the COMELEC. In spite of Ferdinand E. Marcos successfully won on the election, people of the country proclaimed that Corazon Aquino was their president. Therefore, they started the revolution and rallied around the country. The 1986 EDSA People Power Revolution is a series of popular demonstrations in the Philippines from February 22 to 25, 1986. Due to the perseverance and unity of the people, in February 25, 1986, Corazon Aquino and millions of Filipino overthrown former President Ferdinand E. Marcos and attained democracy for the country.
Hello everyone! Today we delve into the life and legacy of an influential figure in the Philippine history, Corazon Aquino. Corazon C. Aquino, also known as Cory, was born on January 25, 1932 in the Panique, Tarlac, Philippines. She would go on to become the first female president of the Philippines, serving from 1986 to 1992. Cory Aquino rose to the prominence during a critical period in Philippine history. On February 25, 1986, Corazon Aquino was sworn in as the 11th President of the Philippines. Her presidency marked a significant turning point in the country's history, as she aimed to restore democracy and promote social justice. President Aquino faced numerous challenges during her term, including economic difficulties and coup attempts. However, her steadfast resolve and commitment to democratic principles earned her respect both nationally and internationally. After serving a single term, Cory Aquino voluntarily stepped down from the presidency in 1992, paving the way for a peaceful transition of power, solidifying her commitment to democratic values. Cory Aquino went from a shy law school student to the first female president of the Philippines. Supported by the People Power Revolution, Aquino successfully ran a peaceful movement that eventually led her to become Time Magazine Person of the Year in 1986. The only other woman that received that honor at the time was Queen Elizabeth II in 1952. She was the most prominent figure of the 1986 People Power Revolution, which ended the 20-year rule of President Ferdinand E. Marcos. Due to this, she was widely accredited as the mother of Asian democracy. During her administration, she pursued peace agreements with militant communist groups and the Moro National Liberation Front or MNLF, extending an invitation for MNLF leader to return for exile.
Good day everyone, I'm Lisa P. Victoriano and I will discuss the context of Corazon Aquino's speech. The speech was given on 1986 after a series of protests and demonstrations by the Filipino people against the Marcos regime. It was a pivotal moment in the Philippine history as it marked the end of Marcos' 20-year rule and the beginning of a new era of democracy. So, noong 1986 po is ang Pilipinas ay nilalabanan ang political na gulo at pang-aabuso ng karapatang pantao sa ilalim ng diktadorya ni Marcos na nagtakda ng pangyayari para sa historical speech ni Pangulong Corazon Aquino. So, sa likod ng tagumpay ng People Power Revolution noong unang bahagi ng taon, kinailangan ni Corazon Aquino na mamuno bilang Pangulo na may malaking gawain na ilapat ang bansa mula sa mapaniil na pamahalaan tungo sa demokrasya. Ang joint session ng US Congress noong September 18, 1986 ay nagbigay ng international na plataforma kay Corazon Aquino upang ipaalam ang pakikibaka ng Pilipinas para sa demokrasya at humingi ng global support. So, sa layuning palakasin ang diplomatic with United States, binigyang diin ni Corazon Aquino ang halaga ng demokrasya at karapatang pantao sa kanyang speech.
Declaration of Freedom from the Marcos regime. So, in her speech, Corazon Aquino retells the actions done by the Marcos regime, such as the suspension of the Constitution, the shutdown of the Congress, and also the imprisonment of anyone who dared to speak up for the democracy, including harassment in Aquino. She describes the Ninoy's imprisonment and the extreme measures taken by the dictatorship to suppress the democracy. The speech culminates the people's victory against the dictatorship through nonviolent means, symbolized by Corazon Aquino's election as president and the restoration of the democracy. Appeal for financial assistance by informing the Americans about the Philippine state. In her speech, Aquino addresses the issue of the Philippines' $26 billion foreign debt and the challenges faced by the Filipino people, including poverty, unemployment, and economic decline. She expresses gratitude for the assistance received thus far, but calls for greater understanding and support from the international community, particularly from the United States.
In her speech to the U.S. Congress, President Corazon Aquino would have talked about her personal experiences of suffering under the Marcos regime, including the loss of her husband and its impact on her family. She would have discussed the struggle for democracy in the Philippines, focusing on political oppression, the suppression of rights, and the fight for fair elections. Aquino would address issues like censorship, imprisoning political opponents, and violence against democracy advocates. Her speech would express hope for restoring democracy and rebuilding the nation based on democratic principles. During her speech, President Corazon Aquino would talk about the sadness and challenges she faced as the wife of Senator Benigno Aquino, who was killed. This made her deeply committed to democratic principles. Aquino would have mentioned how her husband's dedication to democracy inspired her to fight for the same ideals. She would have expressed her determination to continue his mission and her sense of responsibility towards the Filipino people. Aquino's speech would emphasize her resolve to uphold the democratic values that Senator Aquino fought for. President Corazon Aquino would have talked about her strong support for the Filipino people and their desire for democracy, justice, and freedom. She would have praised the People Power Revolution, where regular Filipinos came together to overthrow the Marcos dictatorship and thank the people for their support. Aquino would have promised to address the needs of ordinary Filipinos and share their plans to improve their lives. She would have emphasized her commitment to democratic values, transparency, and including everyone in decision-making. Aquino would have highlighted the importance of the people's voice in shaping the future of the nation. President Corazon Aquino would have presented herself as a significant figure in promoting democracy in Asia after the success of the People Power Revolution. She would highlight how her leadership inspired other countries in Asia to fight for democracy. Aquino would express gratitude for the international community's support and recognize the shared values that connect nations. The speech would have a hopeful tone, envisioning ongoing progress towards democracy in the Philippines and other Asian countries.
So 7 months after the EDSA People Power Revolution, Cory visited to the United States to deliver her speech during the joint session of the U.S. Congress dated on September 18, 1986. She began her speech by saying 3 years ago she left United States to bury her husband Benigno Aquino. According to her, Ninoy's death served as a pleasing sacrifice for the country's democracy. Cory dictated that they had lost Ninoy 3 times. First is when the former President Ferdinand Marcos turned dictator who suspended the Constitution and shut down the Congress and detained Ninoy, including senators, publisher, and the other who is seeking for democracy. For over 43 days, the authority have no information about the Ninoy's condition, so that was the first time Cory thought that they had lost Ninoy. When the first attempt did not work, they put him on trial for subversion, murder, and a host of the other crime before the military commission. So that was the second time Cory thought that they had lost Ninoy. And after the Ninoy's survival, he was exiled for over 3 years and they expect peace for both parties. However, when Ninoy back to the Philippines, he was shot by a gun right after he arrived, and that was the last minute of his life. Throughout the speech, Cory generalized the experience of her during the election that even she was warned by the lawyer of the opposition, it did not work for her because she believed that she is not fighting for lawyer but for the people in whose intelligence have implicit faith. The election was done expectedly. Cory failed for the presidency, but the failure obliged her to fight against the dictatorship, so that was when the EDSA People Power Revolution began. Corazon Aquino also described how was the economy under the martial law and thanked the U.S. Congress for the sympathy on conducting policy to maintain the balance upon their country toward the Philippines. Additionally, Cory proclaimed that her victory is the sign of reconciliation. Cory continued to speak regarding to her plan for the Philippine democracy, which not only for the national but also for the local. And according to her, she would not betray the cause of peace by which she came to power. She also honored the U.S. Congress for the $26 billion foreign debt which said to be stolen by the past government and imposed on them who never benefited from it.
Hi everyone! My name is Gwyneth Angela P. Geronimo and sa part ng video presentation na ito ay pag-uusapan natin ang speech ni Cory Aquino. Itong speech na ito ay isinulat ni Teodoro Lopez Locsin Jr. Siya ay isang politician, lawyer, former journalist and a speech writer to our former President Cory Aquino. Sa speech ni Cory Aquino na ginanap noong September 18, 1986, ina-highlight nito yung personal story niya as well as the relationship between her at ang namayapang asawa na si Ninoy Aquino, pati na rin ang paglakas ng posisyon ng gobyerno ng EDSA sa Pilipinas. Karamihan sa speech niya ay tumutukoy sa yumaong niyang asawa na si Ninoy Aquino, ang katapangan at lakas ng loob na pinakita at ginawa nito laban sa pamahalaang diktador. She also emphasizes the core values that her administration would uphold and kabilang na dito yung democracy, freedom, justice, and respect for human rights by expressing her support sa pagkakaroon ng bagong constitution through an independent commission free from political interference or manipulation, because she believed that this would make sure that everyone had a fair say in the process by making it clear and open. Based on our analysis, ang simbahan ay isa sa mga nagpasimula at maghikayat na magkaroon ng EDSA People Power Revolution upang mapatalsik ang Administrasyong Marcos makatapos ang ilang dekadang authoritarian rule. She positioned herself as a figure of reconciliation who wanted to bring people together and mend the division or heal the rifts caused by years of dictatorship under Ferdinand Marcos. She aimed to assure everyone that she would protect their rights and freedoms. She also talks about the debt and promised to deal with these problems, and this shows that she wanted to be honest about the country's financial situation and work to make things better. It was her way of showing that she would take responsibility for fixing the economic issues and improving the lives of the Filipino people, and isang example na dito ay ang pagtanggal ng martial law.
And we will discuss the contribution, significance, and relevance of Corazon Aquino's speech together with Mark Lawrence Marfil. The contribution of Corazon Aquino's speech. The speech contributed to rallying the Filipino people to continue their fight for democracy and maintain vigilance against subversion of their newfound freedom. And significance of Corazon Aquino's speech is the speech was significant as it served as a call to action, urging unity and collaboration to build a better future for the country, and emphasize the importance of struggle for democracy and the relevance of Corazon Aquino's speech. The speech is relevant as it emphasized the role of the Filipino people in shaping their own destiny and argued for the maintenance of democracy for their benefit in the long term.
Corazon Aquino emphasized that the Filipino people have the power to shape the future of their country through active participation in democracy. She encouraged citizens to exercise their rights, speak out against injustice, and engage in the democratic process through voting and community involvement. Aquino's message highlighted the importance of individual responsibility and accountability in building a better and more brighter future for the Philippines. She argued that the Filipino people must strive to maintain democracy because a long-term government would not benefit them, like the case of the dictator who abused his power and commit human rights violations.